Hello, Jungle Explorer here, and today I'm going to be doing a review on the SJCAM SJ7 Star action cam. I'm going to warn you right up front, this is going to be a pretty thorough, intense review, so this video is going to take a long time. I'm going to go through a lot of testing, try to answer all the questions you might have about this camera, so just know it's going to be a long video. But you're going to get lots of good information. Let me talk about this camera first and why I bought it and why I'm reviewing it. For a long time I've used the DB Power EX5000 as my main camera to film with, because I'm always outside, I'm doing things, and just, you know, you've watched my videos. I do a lot of construction how-to videos, I do a lot of product reviews, and I generally wear the camera on my head so it's pointed at where I'm looking. But in this video I'm actually using a steel camcorder to film it with. Using the Panasonic V180K camcorder to film this with, because I really want you to get a still view of what I'm doing here. The DB Power EX5000, which I'm going to do some comparison with this camera and that one, they're really not even comparable because this one is so far superior in video quality. And honestly, just not a lot of people do good reviews on action cams. You know, most of them take it out of the box, they tell you what's in the box, they slap it on their bicycle, go down a mountain trail, jiggle, 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 and like, oh, there it is. I'm not going to do that with you guys. I'm going to really try to show you what the camera can do, what's good about it and what's bad about it. And so I'm going to do a lot of video comparisons so that you can see how good. Now, the reason I went with the SJ7 Star, after I watched all the videos, and I looked at GoPros, I looked at the Yees, which are pretty popular out there, got a lot of reviews on them, was that I could see on the YouTube videos that I watched a very definite clarity of the SJ7 Star. There was a noticeable difference. In a lot of cases, the difference was humongous. And one thing that I was actually looking for was color balance, or white balance, where the colors actually look natural. Some of the cheaper cameras bump up the saturation to try to make it look more glamorous. That's a cheap trick to try to fool you, but the actual clarity of the video wasn't very good, and the actual balance, white balance, was off on those videos. After watching hundreds of videos and just really pixel peeping, I boiled it down to this one and the Yi HD camera, which were just pretty much almost equal. And I really looked at a lot of the Yi videos, and I looked at these side by side, and the SJ7 Star had just ever so slightly an edge on color balance and fine detail. That's where I was really, you know, looking for the fine detail. So I went ahead and ordered it. It's a $170 camera. Most of my other action cameras were under 50 bucks, so it was a huge jump in quality. And I gotta tell you that as far as video quality, just real clarity, fine detail, color balance, this camera is amazing. It has far exceeded my expectations for an action camera in its price range. I'm not going to compare it to a $500 GoPro, whatever the next version is, and release so many models. You know, there's the Hero 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Black Edition, all those things. Whatever the latest one is, you know, it's like $500 camera. I'm not comparing it to this, okay? I'm saying that compared to everything else that I've seen in other people's YouTube accounts and their videos and everything else that I've used, this thing does, as far as the video quality goes, it's really good. Well worth the money, and that's what I bought it for. Unfortunately, there are some things I'm going to talk about on here that you have to take into account. I've had a lot of problems with the camera itself. Not with the video quality, but the functions of it. There's some major issues with the camera. And then I'm going to talk about the support from the SJCAM company, which plays into you know, the camera, because if you get a camera that has some troubles, you're going to have to rely on the company to help you out, and pretty much they're not there for that. So I'm going to do some testing here, and we're going to go through each thing one by one, each category that I'm going to talk to you about, and then, you know, we'll sum it all up at the end. So what I'm going to do here is set up to test it against my EX5000 so that you can actually see how much superior the video quality is, and then we'll go through some tests. I don't have another camera in this range to test it with, so I'm going to have to use the EX5000. I may do some side-by-side tests with the Panasonic V180K camcorder that I'm filming with, because it actually does some pretty good video. And so just hold on to your seat there. We're about to start going step by step, breaking this thing apart and reviewing it for you. Okay? Okay, so here we have the SJ7 Star and the DB Power EX5000, which was the camera that I used to make my videos before I got the SJ7 Star. I'm going to go into some video stuff later on, but I want to talk about a few of the features that are different, that, you know, depending on what you want, are a plus or minus. They come with a little frame housing. This is to use on it when it's not in the waterproof case. Both of them come with the case. I really detest this housing that, or frame enclosure, whatever you want to call it, that the SJ7 Star comes with. It is just really a pain in the butt, and I'll show you why. In order to get this thing in here, it can only go in one way, and it has to go in from the front. The back has some edges around it, and to get it in here, you gotta kind of stretch it out and kind of get it around it, and then clip it in, and then you're ready to put it, say, on a mount of some kind. Let me pull one out here, just something to put it on. Put that on there, then you can screw it in. Alright, what about when your battery runs out? Well, guess what? To change your battery, you've got to undo it, take that off, take it out of this case. Again, hard to do. Then get to the battery compartment on it, and get that little battery tab out there and pull it out. Okay. Now let's take a look how the DB Power EX5000 is just a clip-in case, like so. It just clips right in there. Okay. And then when you want to take your battery, change your battery, clips right out. Boom. So in that case, this is a lot more difficult than this style right here. And then the other thing is this right here comes with that you have to basically put one of these adapters on here in order for it to work. This type of case right here on the DB Power, it already has the tripod screws holes right in it, so you can hook to any kind of a tripod or a mounting system of any kind and then take it off. Whereas with this, you have to unscrew this thing every time, put that in, and to change it out and change your adapters out. So it gets to be a little bit problematic and cumbersome like that, and I'm not sure why they went with such a difficult system. And this is, the SJCAM is its own proprietary size. So like this, you're only going to be able to get from SJCAM, whereas this right here will fit on a whole bunch of different types of cameras out there that are on the market that fit this same format size as the DB Power EX5000. There's a lot of other cameras that are the same exact shape and size, and they'll fit that case, so it's interchangeable with the other cameras. A lot of the accessories for the SJCAM 7 Star are going to be only for it and will not fit anything else. So that's one thing. Both of them come with a lot of different stuff. Most of it you're not going to use. These are the main things that you're going to use. The waterproof case. The waterproof cases, they function pretty much the same. You pull that back like that, pick it up in the front. Kind of an odd system, but the same exact system here. Pull that little lever back, pick it up like that. It's the same exact system. The waterproof case has worked good. I've actually taken the SJCAM down, swimming down to, say, 6 feet in depth, and it did fine. You know, no problem with water leakage or anything on it. I would always make sure that the little seal stays clean, but I've had it in the water several times and it's done good. Alright, so let's move on. Okay, let's move on to video quality. I'm not, before I go any further, I'm not going to talk about all the accessories that come with these things, because there's plenty of unboxing videos out there that you can actually look at, and they'll tell you about the accessories and stuff. I really want to move on to the critical things. Video quality. You can watch pretty much all my videos from December to now, December 2017 till now, were filmed mostly predominantly with the SJ7 Star, so you can tell a lot about the quality of it by watching my videos. But I'm going to do some video comparison for you, and kind of give you an idea of what we're talking about. Okay, so I've got both the boxes sitting up there, and what I'm going to do is go ahead and turn these on. Okay, and well, the SJ7 Star has a touchscreen. The DB Power EX5000 doesn't. I'm going to go ahead and start recording. Let me make sure what this is set to here first. 1080p 30 frames per second. This is set to 1080 30 frames. So they're both set to the same exact resolution. Both set to the maximum fineness. So just so you have an idea, setting those up there. Now you can't really tell much from the screen. One screen's brighter, the other one's not. I'm going to throw both these up on the screen here for you so you can kind of see. Now, a lot of people that do action camera reviews, they only do them while moving, running around on a bicycle or motorcycle or boating or whatever. I'm actually going to do it still so that you can actually look at the differences in the quality and kind of see still images. Okay, but, well, I mean, it's video, but you can't tell much about moving video because whole scenery's changing all the time. And when it's still, you can actually look at the fine detail. So that's good for that. You can see those side by side. You can see how the SJ7 Star is just a lot superior in video quality. There's no question. And it has a 4K capacity. Both of them have about the same battery life, depending on how you use it, about 45 minutes to an hour, and everything. But the batteries are not interchangeable on these two here. That being said, the EX5000 does take pretty decent video. It's just whenever I upload it to YouTube, it kind of compresses a little bit and doesn't look quite as good as it does in real life. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. Okay. I just wanted you to kind of get a comparison there between the two. As far as the menu functions on the EX5000, it's really not straightforward. It's very, very complex. It took me forever, and there's nowhere in the instructions to learn how to do that. There's some functions on here. If you touch the screen, you come to this, and you go through all these things to adjust resolution. There's a lot of settings on here. Most of them don't have, some of them don't even have a description. You have to look it up online to figure out what it is. The touchscreen does make it nice, but on this camera, if you want to play a video back or you want to turn the little Wi-Fi on or something, you have to pull down from the top, and there you have your Wi-Fi function. I'll turn that off, save the battery. You have your play function, your picture function, and some other functions there. If you don't know how to do that, it's hard to find it. And you cannot access that part of the menu while it's in the waterproof case, because you can't touch the screen. So everything has to be done through the buttons, and not a whole lot can be done through the buttons. So that's one of the, it's great that it has a touch screen, but it also is kind of has some things that need to be improved there. The mic on the SJ7 is a really big problem. It, unfortunately, in real life, like I'm sitting here in what I would call a studio type setting where there's no wind or anything like that, it's a very sensitive mic. It picks up really good sound quality. It's a very, very good mic. I would just call it a little too sensitive. The problem is because it's so sensitive, in an outdoor environment where this camera is most likely to be used, that mic is pretty much useless. It cannot handle any type of wind movement whatsoever. So what I'm going to do is kind of give you an audio sample here. So I'm going to go ahead and use the files from the footage that I took of here, and I'm going to throw those back up one by one. Right now I'm going to put the SJ7 Star up on there. I'm going to let you listen to what that audio sounds like compared to what I'm talking about right now. Just so you have an idea, setting those up there. Now you can't really tell much from the screen. One screen's brighter, the other one's not. Okay, now I'm going to throw the audio from the DB Power EX5000 up there for you to hear that. Just so you have an idea, setting those up there. Now you can't really tell much from the screen. One screen's brighter, the other one's not. I'm going to throw both of these up on the screen here for you. Okay, so you can tell that this definitely has a better mic on it. Now I'm going to take it outside, and I'm going to shoot some outdoor footage with them, and it's kind of windy outside, and you're going to hear the difference out there. Okay, so I'm going to film here without the mic attached. This is just the built-in mic on the camera, and I'm walking out into the wind here. You're hearing the wind interference here. It's probably a 6 to 7 mile-an-hour wind here, maybe 9. I don't think it'll reach 10 miles an hour. Pretty normal around here where I live. It's pretty much this kind of wind every day. I don't know if you can hear me or not, but just letting you hear what the wind does to this mic. Hopefully you can hear a little bit. I'm going to walk back over here into the protection of the building, and got a bunch of junk and a lot of weeds to mow. So I'm going to be talking here so that you can hear what I'm talking about, and you can tell that on one audio you're going to be able to hear me talking even though there's wind. You might be able to hear it in there, but on the SJ7 Cam, SJ7 Star, whenever there's wind, it's going to cut my voice out. Okay, so you've seen both of those audios or videos, and the sound and the wind, how it sounded. So that is one of the things. Is outside, it just pretty much is useless. This one, there's always wind noise and everything, but it actually just completely blows out my voice to the point where you can't even hear my voice anymore on the SJ7 Star. And so for an outdoor camera or an action camera, that's kind of not good. You know, you'd think that they would design them a little bit better to be used outside. So I've tried various things to overcome that problem. This is the mic right here. I put a nice thick piece of foam over it. That didn't fix it. And so my only other option to fixing that problem, the SJ7 Star does have the ability to work with an external mic via the mini USB port. So I bought this really nice, highly rated external mic for it. And it was one of the best little lapel mics that they had on Amazon. Had a real high rating. And I plugged it in to the camera to see if I could use it, because it does work with an external mic. But unfortunately, the SJ7 Star only works with the mic that's produced by the SJCAM's company. It will not work with any other external mics, even if they have the right end on it, the right little mini USB plug in there, still will not work with it. They have their own proprietary system, and it only works with their system. So SJCAM does have an external mic, which is this one right here. Now it doesn't come with this little fur on here. That's an addition, and I'll explain that to you later. I'm not going to take it off right now. It's all set up the way I want it. So it has this, and you can see that it's actually quite a bit larger than a standard lapel mic. So it's hard to find a cover for it. This was a standard lapel, what they call a dead cat or a fur cover, but it was too small for the mic, so I cut a hole in it and put it around the base to cover up the actual the little base of the camera here. And I'll tell you why I did that. But anyways, so that's one thing to know, that if you buy the SJ7, or I would say pretty much any SJ7 or any SJCAM products, most of their stuff's proprietary, not going to be compatible with any aftermarket products, and they like it that way, and I wasn't used to that, so that was one thing that I found out after I bought it. So I bought this nice, and it looks like a good mic. Unfortunately, the reviews for this mic on Amazon.com are pretty poor, but since I couldn't use the camera outside without having horrible wind interference, I decided to go ahead and give it a try. I bought the mic, and unfortunately, it's not that good. And so I used it outside. When I first got the mic to test it out, my dog had cornered a snake, a Texas bull snake that was pretty upset, and I went out to try to take some video of it, and was trying to kind of calm it down by walking around in circles, and it did calm down, but it was kind of hissing at me. So I was out in the wind with this, and you just really, I'm talking the whole time, kind of like right here, but you cannot hear me talking, because even with this foam cover, and that was without the fur on it, it just didn't cut the wind out. This, didn't cut it at all. So I'm going to play that video for you right now, so you can kind of hear what I'm talking about. Just walk around. Can't strike me. Okay, so you can see in that video that I just, even with this on, it just, you can't hear me. You can hear a few peeps. The wind completely cuts it out. So I tried to buy an aftermarket little fur cover for it. That did not help. It wasn't the right size. Somebody suggested that the noise might be coming through the actual wind blowing over the base that was exposed, so I used a little fur to go over the base. I've tried several tests. Basically, I can't even tell a difference between the built-in mic and the external mic as far as wind filtration. And that's kind of sad, because for an action camera intended to be used in an outdoor, fast-moving and paced environment, there's no audio. I mean, the audio is just unusable that it produces. Now, in an indoor environment where there's no other sound, it obviously produces good sound. But What I didn't notice with it at first was it has a little tiny electronic hissing sound that's occurring. Now that could be a defect with the camera. I don't know. Or it could be normal, but it does have a hissing sound. And boy, I tell you what, it's really amplified when I go under the water with it. So I'm going to give you, show you a couple of underwater footage videos here. This video that I'm going to put up for you right now, and I'm just going to run it along the screen as I'm talking. It's a video. I built a minnow trap out of a bottle, and I put my camera down there to monitor it, so so you can see that. And I'll just let you listen to this sound a little bit. As you can see, when it's underneath the water, boy, that buzzing sound is really amplified inside the waterproof case, and it just, boy, just horrible sound. There's something wrong with the mics on these things. I've posted on the SJCAM help forums, and basically, I haven't found anybody that said it's not normal. They like say, well, that's not normal, that's broken. I haven't found anybody that has said that. A lot of people have tried to give me suggestions of how to get around it, but bottom line, the audio that's produced by the camera in a still environment is good. Even with the external mic, it's not that good. Now, I've used the external mic whenever I'm outside by putting it inside my pocket or inside my shirt pocket instead of wearing it inside my clothes. It actually does pretty good, except for when I move, it rubs against me and it picks up a lot of sound. They're just too sensitive. They're good. It's good that they're sensitive, but they need to be. I don't know if it's a software issue or what it is, but it makes it real hard to use the camera outside. Okay, so I want to talk about some more issues with the SJ7 Star. It has a really nice case, unlike this, which is all plastic and everything. This is a nice metal case around it. It really feels good. It feels solid. It does, it's heavy. Generally heavier things are built better. And I do like the camera. I really wanted this camera to be awesome because it does produce such fine quality video for in its price category. But it has a horrible overheating problem. Now, one of the things, I have to turn it on. I'm going to move it up here close to the mic so you can hear it. I'm going to turn it on, and you have to hold the power button in right here in front where my top finger is. There's a setting button here, there's a power button here, and I'm going to hold that in, and you have to hold it in for a while to turn it on. You'll hear it turn on. And boy, it's just really not loud at all when you turn it on, but you can hear it just barely, okay? Now I'm going to turn it off. Did you hear anything? There was a tiny little, like a water drop, like click, when it turns off. You don't hear it when it turns off, okay? And I'm going to tell you why I'm going to show that. I'm going to turn my DB power on, and it just takes one button push, and it turns on. Hear how loud that is, okay? Now you have to hold it in to turn it off. You hear that? You hear it when it goes off. Well, that's the problem with this camera, is you don't hear it when it turns off, and when it overheats, it turns off. And if you don't hear it, you think you're filming, and you're not. And that's a problem. I took this, when I first got this, I headed down to Costa Rica and took some footage with it. Went to visit the Manuel Antonio National Park there, which is a wildlife reserve. Beautiful place. If you ever get a chance to go to Costa Rica, don't miss the Manuel Antonio National Park. And I had a tour guide there from Efrain Tours, which did a really good job. A little bit of a environmentalist, but that's okay. Anyways, I was filming there, and I had this connected to a battery backup because we were going to be there for about 5 hours, and I wanted to film the whole thing and just everything because things were happening. Monkeys were jumping through trees and stuff, and you never knew when a good scene. was going to happen. I had it on my head and I wanted to capture it. Well, about an hour into it, maybe 45 minutes, the camera shut off. I didn't know it shut off. And so I lost, you know, irreplaceable footage because I thought it was filming the whole time. About halfway through the park, about 3 hours in, I checked it and found out that it had turned off and it would not turn back on. And I thought it was fried. It wasn't until we got back to the hotel room that night that I turned it on and it actually started working again. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. Well, I thought at that time that there was a problem, that the battery had died and there was a problem with the battery backup, but what it just turns out that it was overheated. And but there is actually another problem with it, and that problem is an incompatibility with many USB cables. Not all mini USB cables will work with it. Some of them will cause it to malfunction. Just plugging it in with the wrong cable will cause the camera to malfunction, and I had to learn that out the hard way, and I lost some other valuable footage because of that. It needs a certain kind, and that has to do with that proprietary wiring that they have in the plug here. I can't explain. I've tried to talk to some experts. Nobody knows exactly what they did in there, but it doesn't work with all your USB mini cables. So, you know, it has that problem there. Sometimes if you're using the wrong cable, it won't charge. So it comes with a cable from SJCAM. You really need to keep track of that cable because that's the one it works the best with. I found some other cables I had laying around. I have a bunch of them that did work with it, but a lot of them wouldn't. So the overheating problem is a major problem with this camera. And if you go online and look, you'll see that most of the people are complaining about the overheating problem with this camera. And I want to state here that I'm filming in 1080p, not 4K. Okay, the overheating problem is only going to get worse and going to happen faster in 4K. Just in 1080p, 30 frames per second, not 60 frames per second, not 120 frames per second, 1080p, 30 frames per second, this camera overheats. In about an hour, it gets pretty hot. Now, if it's cool outside, it won't, but in the summertime, or say you're in Central and South America, where you got humidity and stuff, it's going to overheat and it's going to fail you. So that's a real big problem. And it especially overheats if it's connected to an external power supply. So, you know, that I had to really learn how to work on it. But one of the main complaints is when you turn it off, you can't hear it. And when it overheats and it turns off, I've lost so much valuable footage because the camera turned off. I wear it on my head and it turned off and I couldn't hear it. So that's something that there's a lot of issues with this camera, you know, and I kind of have a love-hate relationship with it because of all the cameras I have, this produces the best quality video. Really balanced color, really clear. And after I render it and put it on YouTube, it comes out better than a lot of the footage from my other cameras. But, you know, it just has a lot of problems. And, I mean, I've tried to work with the SJCAM company. I've reported these problems. And basically, there is no customer support from SJCAM. And that's the real downer. Even with the DV Power, which is a budget camera, when I had problems with my first one, they responded very quickly. They tried to help me out. When I couldn't fix the problem, they sent me a whole nother camera. And, you know, that camera also had the same problem. It turned out to be a design issue. And then I had to work with them and try to figure out how to adjust the settings to overcome that. But they worked with me. They talked with me. They emailed back and forth. And, you know, I was eventually able to get it to where it worked good enough. And the problem in that case was exposure. It had a real bad problem with overexposure, underexposure, and we were able to fix that adjusting the exposure settings and some other settings. But SJCAM just basically doesn't exist whenever you have a problem with your camera. This is a great little camera. It needed some software improvements to fix it, but they decided to abandon it. They just left it orphaned. They released a new an SJ8 camera now. But I will not be buying from SJCAM again. I love the little camera. I like the quality of the video is what I like about it, but it really is a headache to work with. There's a lot of problems, The only solution that you'll ever get from SJCAM is like, oh, try this new firmware, go back to another firmware. You know, basically their only solution is install a different version of firmware and then, you know, test it out for a week and get back to us. And what they'll do is they're going to run you ragged until your warranty is out, and then they're not going to replace it, which is what they did to me. They never did anything for me, and no matter how much I complained, and I've tried to tell them, I said, hey, you know, let's work this out. Let's send me another camera. We'll figure out what we can do. Maybe this one's defective. I don't know. I offered. I said, listen, send me another camera to test out so I can see if the sound problems with this one are just a lemon or defective or whatever. They wouldn't do that. They just basically sent me new versions of firmware that never fixed anything until my warranty ran out. And so I'm going to keep and use this camera, but I have to really be careful with it. And that's the reason I'm making this review. I just really hate that I have to make this review because it does take such good footage, but with all the problems that it has and the proprietary stuff that it has, the housing that it comes with, and them not allowing you to work with a better quality external mic, you know, like this, which is highly rated mic. I got to use this garbage one, which also has horrible reviews on Amazon.com. So listen to them because this is a piece of junk. You know, it's just sad that the SJCAM company knew how to make a good camera, but didn't know how to surround it with a good piece of hardware. So I'm going to let you decide for yourself whether you want to try this out. If you can find one that's really cheap, you know, a used one that somebody like me's gotten frustrated with and just wants to get rid of, I wouldn't hesitate to grab it. It does really take good footage, better than just about anything else out there. But if you're going to spend the money, I'm going to say go with the Yi. It's got a lot better reviews on Amazon.com, and I'll put a link to that camera that I think you should go with in the description of this video. I'll link to this one too. Maybe that'll go down in price, and maybe for 40 or 50 bucks you can pick it up one day, and you know, you can deal with the problems. Just watch out for the overheating. Remember, it's not going to work out in the wind with any kind of wind, and the mic that it has is not going to help you. But like I said, I did overcome it by putting the mic inside my shirt pocket, putting this little fuzzy thing on here. It took a lot, but it does kind of work. It's a lot better than nothing, and I'm able to use it outside as much as possible. So I'm going to finish up this review. If you have any questions about anything further on this camera, there's a lot of other reviews out there that may have that information. If I didn't answer something that you wanted to know, just ask me in the description below. Make a comment on this video and tell me what you thought about my review. I know it was kind of long, but I really wanted to cover a lot of bases for you. So hopefully this will be helpful and will answer all your questions. If not, send a comment. So if you've enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and comment. Until next time, the Jungle Explorer signing out.